talk about Jay Manuel. So Jay Manuel basically was talking about how Tyra wasn't necessarily being real in her, in the docuseries that they just did over there on the Netflix. And he brought this up on Sherri Show because they had the J's on there. They had Mr. J, Miss J, and Nigel Barker, Miss J Alexander, and Jay Manuel. So they were all on there, but we'll get into that in a minute. But what I want to show y'all is Ms. No Neck up in here basically crying and making excuses for the Times and Tyra and all those other stuff. And I'm like, okay, you made some valid points, but I look at her, girl, this is probably why you're losing your damn show. Cause it was kind of telling with when you said, oh, the things they make you do and the hoops you have to jump through. I'm like, okay, so was that what they had you doing over there at that show? Jumping through hoops so you could stay on the air and you still can keep the show on. So yeah, let's play this clip. And I'm gonna make it smaller, and we will come back and talk. We might get an ad or something in here, so y'all gonna have to bear with me. But please hold.
I've been up all night watching Netflix's documentary about Tyra Banks and America's Next Top Model. When I tell you I was hooked, I kept saying I'm gonna go to bed when this episode is over. But then there would be a cliffhanger, and I said, okay, I'm just gonna watch one more. A lot of people are angry at Tyra after watching this. The show did awful things to the contestants, and everybody, I think, expected Tyra to take more accountability. They had season 6 winner Danny Evans, if y'all remember Danny Evans. And Danny Evans talked about how she was pressured by Tyra into closing the gap in her teeth. So when Tyra tried to explain her point of view, Danny wasn't accepting it. Take a look.
That was between a rock and a hard place for me, because there were agents that would tell me she will not work with those teeth. It's just not going to happen. That's what they told me. And again, I could have just been quiet and let them handle it. But that's hindsight is 2020 for all of us. It just so happens that a lot of the things that are 2020 for me happened in front of the world.
Bull. That close is not opening any doors for me. You knew what you were doing for the show. You were making good for TV at my expense.
What I hope to help you come to grips with.
Why is it ad playing? I knew that was going to happen.
This is such a hard one. I understand why people are mad. I do understand. But I also say you have to understand the time that this all happened was in 2003. Reality TV was a wild, wild west back then. Every show was trying to outdo each other to stay on the air. We had people that were eating rats on Survivor. We had people getting in Nevada spiders on Fear Factor. Simon Cowell was telling people they sucked to their faces. I cannot forget that Tyra that was a young Black woman trying to make it in the reality TV game. Like now we have a plethora of TV shows. We're not naive to what goes on behind the scenes in reality shows today. So we're trying to compare a time today that we know a lot to a time when there was nothing like the show on the air. We're not taking into account the battles that this Black woman had to fight just to stay on the air for other people to come on the air. In the documentary, they said no network wanted to pick up the show except UPN. Everybody said no. As a woman who was pitched a bunch of shows and tried to get her own talk show, I understand that. Let me tell you something. I bet you if Heidi Klum had shot the show around and every model looked like Gigi Hadid, it'd have been picked up immediately. Immediately.
Well, you know what? I will give you that. She is absolutely right about that. If it was a white woman that came up with that idea, trust and believe they would have allowed that to happen. And Tyra was at the height of her career when all that was going on. So I will give her that. If Heidi Klum came up with that idea, did she create Project Runway? I'm trying to remember. I know she had a big hand in it, but I don't know if that was necessarily like she created it, but not like Tyra did Top Model. But I could definitely see if it was that and Gigi, all the girls were like Gigi, that definitely would happen. Because remember, Les Moonves didn't want a Latin girl on the show, and Tyra said that she fought. So I guess maybe she had to choose her battles, or kind of like, it's that thing when you go in on Black women and they kind of revert a little bit, like they don't want to go too on the thing, because y'all consider if Black women come out and do any little thing that rubs white people the wrong way, especially those at the top, then they're like, oh, you're being too aggressive, or she's a problem, or we need a blacklist. So she probably had to choose her words carefully. But what we're saying is that that's all good and granted. You could say like it was the times. Yeah, it was the Wild Wild West. We're all aware of that. But just been like, I acknowledge we went a little too far on a lot of situations, but I apologize for slut shaming Shandy. I apologize for sitting there saying that Danielle won't get any bookings if she don't close that gap. But then seasons later, you find a white girl where you want to widen her gap because all of a sudden you remember Lauren Hutton, who came out both of these girls had a gap in her tooth and was successful. So you made the black girl close her gap, but then you want to widen the white girls because she, I guess, is more palatable and accessible for these people in the fashion world to market. So all people were just saying is that just acknowledge the fact that y'all did some crazy shit on the show. A lot of people were traumatized by it. And it's like, and then I hate when people go and say, but y'all signed up for it. Yeah, I signed up on a show because I thought I was gonna be a model and that it was gonna take me from poverty and I was gonna be successful. I didn't sign up for y'all to sit up in here and play mind tricks to traumatize me, to make me walk through the fires of hell. Like if we're doing it for a challenge, okay, fine. But you up in here trying to do psychological warfare on me and exploit things about me that's personal because y'all want a moment and you want ratings. They didn't sign up for that. Y'all knew the manipulative shit that y'all was doing behind the scenes. So two things can be true at the same time. Stop, like when y'all go and say, but you signed up for it, but you did it. It's like you're victim blaming. You can also call everybody out on the thing. A lot of times when you was that young, you're naive, your frontal lobe ain't fully developed. They don't know what they're getting into. And even years later, it was admitted that Tyra knew these girls wasn't going to be like a Naomi Campbell or even like a Tyra Banks. Because she was said it in the interview with Howard Stern. She was like, yeah, I mean, it's very rare when you get to be in a supermodel position or something like having the career that she had or Naomi had. But for the most part, these girls can go on Chinese Vogue or whatever the case is, hit the covers of that. So you can go around the world and be incorporated in things and be successful. It's not necessarily, through um, being on American Vogue or being a muse for Anna Wintour or whatever the case. Like you're not gonna get that thing, or maybe you would. But so I just wanted to say that before we get into the rest of this because we gotta get. Then Sherri started with the waterworks, which had me cackling. I'm looking at her like, ma'am. But anyway, let's continue.
There's a lot of stuff that we did not know back then that would not have happened if the show aired now. People are blaming Tyra for allowing them to cut a black woman's hair wrong. I remember that when they cut the girls from New York and she was bald and they cut it, she had bald patches. We didn't have the sensitivities behind the scenes back then that we do now. Nowadays, if you have a black talent, they make sure to get black stylists. That's what we had to fight for to get. And I'm gonna tell you, I say this because I remember a time. See, now you see a lot of black women in shows. They used to call me the black girl who did all the white TV shows. That's the title I used to have because you didn't see many black women running around on sitcoms. And I booked a lot of those jobs. But there was a time I did a show and the white stylist, they thought my hair was too oily. It wasn't a wig. We didn't wear wigs back then. So it was my hair. And he thought it was too oily. He didn't know what to do. He poured a whole tub of baby powder on my hair to absorb the oil and then took the curling iron to curl it. Now here I was, a young black girl. I wanted the job. So I didn't have the power to go, stop. I do now. I got the power to fire people if they mess up my hair. I didn't back then. So I had to take it as my hair was frying. They didn't know what to do because my hair started frying. So they grabbed one of the stylists from the show, Living Single, because they were close to me. Her name was Julie. And she came over and she fixed my hair. And she said, my God, what did they do? I was in tears. That happened back in the day. That would never happen now. So back in the day, what people don't understand is the battles that this woman probably had to fight just to keep it inclusive. She came to them saying, I want a diverse cast. I want black women. I want Latin women. I want plus size women. And everybody said no because the industry standard looked like one thing. So she couldn't protect everybody, nor did she own the show. And I'm not saying that the show didn't do terrible things because it did. But I just want to think about it in the context of which it happened. And also there was another thing. There was no social media back then to hold people accountable. Social media is good and it's bad. But what social media does is it advocates for people. If there had been, because like Shandy said, nobody gave me a cell phone. Shandy was off because she had slept with somebody other than her boyfriend, was in a jacuzzi with other men. They would have, now if that show was on, they would have had an intimacy coach. They would have had psychologists and therapists on the show to help these girls. Back then they didn't know about any of that. So that's what I'm saying. It was a different time. And there were battles that she was fighting because you always think about the long game. I want the show to stay on the air. I want more black women to come on. I want more plus size women. You remember Isis? When Isis came on the show, Isis was trans, I believe. She would not have made it on season 1. They would not have let her be on that show. You remember Miss Harley Winnow? Yes, say it. Winnie Harlow. Mama, you know I know you. I'm passionate about what I'm saying. Winnie Harlow is an amazing woman with vitiligo. Back then, in the first season, she probably would not have made it. But what we know now, we love the trans community. We accept our skin now. But back then, when I tell you the battles, people don't understand. When we are in power, the battles we got to fight that you will never know about. Never. To keep a show on the air, there are things that we have to do that people will tell us If you want to stay on the air, this is what you got to do. And we got to weigh the options. And sometimes we make bad decisions and we look up and we go, in hindsight, maybe I should not have done it, but I just want to open the door and give a platform to people who look like me. And so I asked, I don't agree with some things that Tyra did. There were things that maybe could have been stopped, but I do ask that people look at it in the context. We are woke now. We know so much more now than we did back then. And I just hate that she's getting so much flack. She does need to take accountability, you know.
You know, I have to actually give it up to Sherri. Finally, somebody who, well, she is black, so that's probably why. But she used woke in the right context. Said, yeah, we're woke now. So it's like, which means you're aware of the things that you should be aware of, which I think more people need to do. I'm just tired of people using woke as like a negative, and it's not. You should be aware of things, and we evolve, and we don't go back to the old ways. So definitely think, because a lot of people say, and this is why your show got canceled, and I did cackle. But for the most part, I'm just like, you know what? I feel like she hit all the beats. It's like, yeah, we need to look at the times of like which this show was done and how it was the Wild Wild West and all these other things. But we wouldn't do the things that we do now, and she needs to be accountable. But the problem is she didn't take accountability for a lot of the stuff that was going on. If Tyra was busy trying not to focus on this rebrand so much and would just came in with an open heart and mind and vulnerability and just been like, you know what? Yeah, that was the times or whatever the case was. And did we get it all right all the time? No, but I did what I had to do to keep this show on the air. And yeah, we fucked up a lot. And if we, but I acknowledge it, and I apologize. If she would have came out and said that, I feel like people would not be windmilling on her as hard. But some people said this, you getting the real Tyra. So she's probably like one of those girls that's stubborn and is not going to take accountability. But let's hurry up and finish this, because we got about maybe a minute and a half left before this segment. So yeah, let's continue.
I know that. But I also know the battles, some people will never understand the battles that are fought. You see a person sitting there and think, oh, it's so fun. And you'll never know the battles that are being fought behind the scenes so that it can stay on the air. And so you can give people an opportunity. That's all I'm saying. But I'm so excited because we got some news. I'm very excited because on Tuesday, I'm going to talk about all of this with the judges themselves.
Okay, so yeah. So and we have some of that information and stuff here because I did see the clips, and we'll get into that in a second. But yeah, I agree with her on all of this. And I'm just like, I didn't actually see the clips and stuff yet, so we're gonna go through this in the first, my first time going through this whole situation. But it's like, yeah, I just feel that I think I pretty much feel like I said all I need to say regarding the whole Tyra thing. It's just that all they wanted was you to just take responsibility for your part in the situation. So, in regards to all of this, because now we could switch from that to that, the full picture. Um, the real Tyra Banks was missing apparently from Netflix's new documentary Reality Check, according to former pal and judge Jay Manuel. He said, "We see prepared television Tyra. I know the real woman. I know her struggles. I know what she has fought in this industry." This is what he told Sherri on the upcoming episode of Sherri, airing Tuesday, February. Oh, it didn't even come out yet. But I saw like some of the clips and stuff was up though. Now, Manuel and fellow judges Nigel Barker and Miss J appear in the doc, along with a few of the model contestants, where they look back on the reality show's complicated legacy. The three judges appear together on Sherri, their first sit-down interview as a trio since the doc premiered on Monday. The doc reveals Banks's estrangement from the three, who were all once close pals with the supermodel turned smize and dream ice cream entrepreneur. In Manuel's case, their relationship changed after he tried to leave the show in 2007, and she responded with the email that read, "I am disappointed." Their communication off camera halted, and Manuel told Shepard that Banks completely shut him out. Manuel was on the show, starring in his inaugural season 2003, and wound up staying on until Cycle 18 in 2012. Because remember, he was only going to stay on for one season, but the way she acted on that show towards him, it was like they stayed on until they were fired in 2012, when also was him, Miss J, and Nigel Barker were also fired, saying that was a very strained relationship because she wouldn't talk to me when the cameras weren't rolling. And still to this day, that really hurts. Banks refused to talk about their fallout when asked about their relationship in the doc, only saying that she would give him a ring, which we know she isn't. It's a call Manuel says he has yet to receive, nor is he waiting by the phone. He also teased she also teased a cycle 25 of ANTM at the end of the doc, but when Shepard asked the trio if they'd return, he responded, "If we're going to be real, I don't think I'm getting a phone call." Alexander responded by giving one of his iconic meme-worthy stares, and y'all know that look. You know that look he be giving. So it was like, don't expect it either. My thing is this, and I've said this already, and I feel like I'm going to say it till I'm blue in the face. If Tyra decides to bring back the show, and you don't bring back the Jays, and you don't bring back Nigel Barker, I'm not watching. First of all, they were kind of like the glue. Y'all were like the core. Well, I guess we used the core four. They were the core four of ANTM, and the show worked because you had these personalities on the show that made it work. We lived for Miss J and her one-liners and her facial expressions and the shade that she was bringing. Mr. J with what he brought, and Nigel with being the eye candy and taking the great photo shoots and all that other stuff. So we liked it with that. And Tyra doing her hosting duties and all the other stuff. The show worked because of the dynamic y'all had. And if you're not going to give us that, I mean, I can't see anybody who y'all could bring on the show. The only one I could think of, and some people might be feeling it might be a little polarizing, but he's everywhere at this point. It might be Laura Roach. Remember, he once upon a time he was on the show. He did it with Rita Ora. That's when I first heard of him. But he's doing Project Runway. He's on RuPaul's Drag Race. Like he's everywhere doing all this judging stuff. And I'm sure it might be cute or whatever if y'all brought him on there. But if Tyra's not going to be willing to open up and take accountability, I don't see any of my generation and as well as this new generation even wanting to watch the show. And my question would be, how would a show like America's Next Top Model work in today's climate? The times was different then. And I know it's like people are trying to revive old shows. We still got American Boring Ass Idol on. They just brought back Fear Factor, and I haven't watched it because I don't care. I mean, it's with Johnny Knoxville though, and I just feel like a lot of the shows that were worked back in the day, I don't feel like they fit in. It doesn't fit in today's climate. I don't know if y'all seen the other show. Definitely let me know if y'all seen the new Fear Factor. What y'all think of it? I don't know. It just didn't grab my. I mean, I've seen little things of it online. It didn't grab my attention. But anyway, last but certainly not least, I want to play all this clip. So I'm just thinking, like, before we get out of here, because I'm just like, yeah, Tyra could pay it with this revival. I sure don't care. I don't think a lot of people do either, especially the way they're eating her ass up on screen. But before we get up out of here, I want to play out this Hope Giselle video where she was going and talking about Top Model, and I was like, ma'am, you said nothing but a word, and it wasn't even. I didn't know I needed this sermon on a Sunday. I mean, on a Friday, and it's not even Sunday. So let's play this clip, and we'll come back and talk. Please hold.
If they ever actually do away with Pennywise, Tyra got a job because that bitch is evil. But y'all don't actually want accountability from her. Y'all want a villain that you can turn into a meme. So let's start there. Because watching America's Next Top Model back as adults feels like realizing that your favorite childhood babysitter was actually the problem. We didn't misremember it. It was just worse than we actually remembered. A woman said that she was sexually assaulted and it aired. It was edited. It was packaged and monetized. And then years later, we watching Tyra sit here and look at this footage and basically say, yep, that's how it was though. No, bitch. That's not how it should have been. That's how harm survives. Sexual assault is not a storyline. Body shaming is not mentorship. Psychological warfare is not a character development clause. Calling things a size 6 fat wasn't edgy. It was an eating disorder propaganda that y'all were pushing. Telling girls to push through humiliation wasn't resilience training. It was grooming them for an industry that profits off of their broken spirits. And here's the part that y'all don't want to hear. Tyra is guilty, but she wasn't alone. Miss J was there. Mr. J was there. Nigel was there. The network, the producers, the audience, bitch, we were there. Clapping at the breakdowns like they were plot twists. If Tyra is the head, the industry was the Hydra. And cutting off the one head while the rest of them keep cashing checks is not justice, it's branding. So let me say something uncomfortable. Tyra was traumatized by the white supremacy in the industry. And she built a TV empire that replicated the same violence with better lighting. Hurt people, but powerful people weaponize that. You don't get to profit off of humiliation and then plead nostalgia. You don't get to say, that was the 2000s, like misogyny had a limited time offer. Wrong is wrong, even if it's dressed in low-rise jeans. And I'm tired of people acting like calling this out as bullshit bullying. Dragging one woman while protecting the machine is bullying. If you really care about those girls, name everybody who signed those checks. Name everybody who stayed quiet. Name everybody who watched the show and said nothing. Because I blocked her, I blocked the judges, and I blocked the nostalgia. Because growth means that you don't romanticize your own conditioning. If the conversation makes you uncomfortable, cool. But those girls were uncomfortable for 45 minutes every Wednesday night, and we called it entertainment. If we're lighting a match, let's stop pretending that the only fire is Tyra. The whole house was built with gasoline, and everybody got to come down. And until y'all have that conversation, I'll wait.
Well, she said what she said. And I want to hear what y'all got to say on that. So I say, well, this is the same. What do you guys think of this story? What did you think what Eva had to say? What did you think Sherri had to say? And what did you think Hope had to say? Even what the hell I had to say. Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments down below.